9:08 in the morning, in the Strait of Hormuz, the USS Truxtun's radar picks up a missile launch from the Iranian coastline. The crew begins the response they have run dozens of times. Contact detected. Bearing northeast. Speed consistent with a cruise missile. The fire control computers assign an interceptor in 4 seconds. Clean solution. The interceptor launches at 9:08. Then the contact disappears. Not jammed, not destroyed. The radar return stops. The missile is still flying. The formation can calculate that from the launch timing and the distance remaining. The display shows nothing. The contact that was there 4 seconds ago is gone from every screen in the Combat Information Center simultaneously. The interceptor detonates on fuel exhaustion at 9:09. Miss, the missile is not gone. It is hiding. Hiding in a place the formation's radar system never learned to look because nothing has ever hidden there before. The seas in the strait this morning are running heavy. 14-foot swells rolling through the narrows, filling the radar display with noise, thousands of wave crests reflecting the signal simultaneously, a constant background of false returns that the fire control computers filter out before building any tactical picture. The filter works by size and speed. Wave crests produce returns of a specific radar cross-section. The filter rejects returns in that size range as wave noise. The missile it just lost is not a standard Soumar cruise missile. It is a modified in 2 specific ways that 4 months of Iranian engineering produced, and that the Truxtun's threat library has never seen. The first modification is altitude. A standard Soumar flies at 12 to 14 feet. This one is flying at 6. 6 feet places it below the tops of the 14-foot swells. Between wave crests, it is hidden inside the troughs. Between troughs, it briefly rises above the surface and is visible for approximately 1 second before the next crest hides it again. 1 second visible. 3 seconds invisible, moving toward the hull at just under the speed of sound the entire time. The second modification is a ferrite-composite coating on the missile's airframe that reduces its radar cross-section by 70%. In heavy seas where the filter is already rejecting thousands of returns in the same size range, the 70% reduced signature of a Soumar at 6 feet altitude is indistinguishable from a wave crest. The filter processes it, classifies it as wave noise, and removes it from the tactical picture. The missile is in the radar data. It has been there since the moment it launched. The filter is throwing it away. 4 miles became 3.5. Petty Officer 3rd Class Carlos Reyes has been at the secondary radar console in the Truxtun's radar suite since 8:30. His console shows the raw, unfiltered radar data every return the antenna receives before the filter processes it. Not a tactical console. A monitoring console used by junior operators to verify the filter is working correctly. At 9:09, Reyes is watching the raw returns when something moves through the wave field at a speed that water cannot move. A return approximately the size of a medium wave crest, exactly the size the filter rejects as noise crossing the display at 540 knots on a northeast bearing. Moving toward the Truxtun, appearing for approximately 1 second, then gone into the noise, then appearing again 4 seconds later, further south, still on the same bearing. He tracks it for 11 seconds before reporting. At 9:10, he transmits to the tactical action officer. He tells him there is a contact in the raw wave return data moving at missile speed on the missile's last known bearing. He tells him the primary system is filtering it out because its radar cross-section matches the wave return parameters. The tactical action officer tells him the filter's discrimination parameters are certified against this sea state, and that a return classified as wave noise is almost certainly wave noise. He tells Reyes to continue monitoring. 3.5 miles became 3. The fire control computers attempt a second solution at 9:10. The contact reappears briefly 1 second of reduced return, and the computers begin building. The solution takes 7 seconds to reach sufficient confidence. The return disappears at second 4. The computers reset. The interceptor that was being assigned holds in its cell. 3 miles became 2.5. To understand why the fire control computers cannot solve this contact, you need to understand one thing about how an intercept solution works. It requires track a series of position observations from which the system derives speed, heading, and future position. The Soumar is giving the system 1 second of track data every 4 seconds. 1 second produces a margin of error of approximately 200 meters at this range. A missile can cover 200 meters in under a second. An interceptor aimed 200 meters from where the missile actually is will miss by 200 meters. The second interceptor launches at 9:11 against a solution built from one glimpse. It misses by 180 meters. The third launches at 9:12. It misses by 160 meters. The margin is improving. The target is getting closer. Both rates are converging in under 3 minutes, the point where the missile enters minimum intercept range, and the close-in gun becomes the last option. The gun engages surface contacts, not air contacts, at 6 feet inside 14-foot swells, where every solution requires discriminating against wave crests that physically block the line of sight. 2.5 miles became 2. At 9:11, 4 Iranian fast attack boats appear from the southern bearing. Visible, trackable, moving toward the hull at 38 knots. The gun system begins engaging them. The escort ships commit south. The formation's attention splits between an invisible missile from the northeast that 5 interceptors cannot solve and 4 visible boats from the south that every system can see clearly. 2 miles became 1.6. Reyes has been tracking the raw return for 6 minutes. 6 minutes of logging each appearance bearing, position, time between appearances, duration of visibility. At 9:13, he notices something that has been in every appearance since 9:09 and that he has been looking at without recognizing. The position of each brief return is consistently further forward along the bearing line than the position the missile should occupy based on its subsequent appearances. Consistently, by approximately 120 meters each time, not random, not varying. 120 meters forward, every single appearance. Because radar signals reflecting off a water surface at low angle do not return from exactly where they appear to originate. The angle of incidence bends the apparent return position forward along the beam axis by an amount determined by the wave angle and the radar frequency. Consistent. Calculable. Present in every radar engagement ever run over water. Never relevant before because no previous contact has been hiding in a position where the displacement mattered. The fire control computers are building solutions against the apparent position 120 meters forward of where the missile actually is. Every solution is wrong before the geometry calculation even begins. They will never solve the right position from the data they are using, because the data has a systematic error the filter does not know to correct for. Reyes calculates the offset at 9:13. He builds the corrected track from his 6 minutes of raw return data. The corrected track is clean, consistent bearing, consistent speed, consistent timing, precise enough to build an intercept solution. He transmits at 9:14, not to the tactical action officer. Directly to the fire control computer's manual targeting input, the interface used when an operator has sensor data the automated system cannot process. He transmits the raw return positions, the 120-meter correction, and the projected position of the next visibility window. 1.6 miles became 1.3. The fire control computer receives the input at 9:14. It builds a solution from the corrected positions 120 meters behind where every previous solution looked. It times the launch to the predicted visibility window. The 6th interceptor launches at 9:15. The 6th interceptor closes on a position 120 meters behind where the fire control computers have been looking for 6 minutes. It closes on that position at the moment the Soumar rises between 2 wave crests for its 1-second window. The terminal seeker acquires the contact at 1.1 miles. The seeker closes the distance in under 2 seconds. The Soumar is destroyed at 9:15, 1.1 miles from the Truxtun's hull. The detonation between wave crests produces a fireball that rises above the swell line orange and brief, followed by dark smoke. The wind takes apart almost immediately visible from the bridge against the morning sky. 1.1 miles is not a comfortable distance. The pressure wave from the detonation reaches the hull in under 2 seconds. 4 fragments of the Soumar's airframe travel the same distance in the same time. 2 pass over the hull harmlessly. One strikes the forward radar array, housing a glancing blow that misaligns the primary antenna by 3 degrees, reducing its effective range by 18%. One strikes the port bridge wing and embeds in the blast shield, close enough that the overpressure cracks 2 of the 6 bridge windows and throws the officer of the deck against the helm console. He fractures his wrist, catching the console. 5 other crew members are knocked off their feet by the combined pressure wave. 2 require immediate medical attention. 1 concussion from a head impact with a console edge. 4 others are bruised and back at their stations within 8 minutes. The radar array alignment is corrected at 9:44. The 4 fast attack boats from the south are engaged and destroyed between 9:11 and 9:22. All 4 gone before the closest reaches 500 meters. The formation's interceptor inventory at 9:22 is 38%. The launch position on the Iranian coastline, tracked through its own emission signature during the launch, is struck by 2 precision weapons at 9:31. The launcher and its support vehicle are destroyed. Reyes writes his radar log at 10:04. Raw return anomaly identified at 9:09. Manual tracking initiated. Apparent position offset of 120 meters calculated from 6 minutes of raw data at 9:13. Corrected track transmitted to fire control manual input at 9:14. 6th interceptor fired on corrected solution. Contact destroyed at 9:15 at 1.1 miles. Then one line his commanding officer kept in the final report without changing a word. The missile was not invisible. The system was looking in the wrong place. The raw data had it the whole time. Iran built the wave-hiding attack around a calculation that was correct in every measurable parameter. The ferrite-composite coating reduced the radar signature to wave return size. The 6-foot altitude placed the missile inside the swells. The 14-foot sea state created the discrimination problem that made both modifications effective simultaneously. 3 weeks of observing the Truxtun's radar characteristics in different sea conditions. 3 weeks of identifying the specific sea state in which the combination of reduced signature and low altitude would defeat the filter. The attack failed because of a physics phenomenon that affects every radar system operating at low angles over a water surface. Low-angle radar signals reflecting off water surfaces return from a position consistently displaced forward from the true target position by an amount determined by the wave angle and the signal frequency. Present in every engagement the system has ever run over water. Never relevant before this morning because no previous contact was hiding in a position where the displacement mattered. It mattered this morning. 120 meters. The difference between 5 interceptors that missed and 1 that did not. Between a missile that reached the hull and one destroyed 1.1 miles from it. The modified Soumar is the most studied missile configuration in the United States Navy as of this morning. Every radar operator and every ship in the fleet now knows about the low-angle water surface displacement offset and how to correct for it when building manual solutions against contacts the filter has classified as wave noise. Iran spent 4 months engineering a missile that hides in waves. It worked for 6 minutes and 1.1 miles. The physics of the radar signal it was hiding from is what ended it. The Truxtun is past the horizon. The missile is debris on the surface of the strait. The officer of the deck is in the medical bay with his wrist in a splint. The radar array is aligned. The bridge windows are sealed. The waves are still 14 feet. The sea state has not changed. The only thing different about the strait now compared to 9:08 this morning is that it no longer contains a missile configured to hide in its swells. Iran built the weapon for this specific sea state. The sea state will come again. The weapon will not.